Well, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 ended with a lot of paths for our heroes to take, and one of them was the legendary Star-Lord. Now, James Gunn has chimed in on the future of the character, and I think we're going to see him in a rather interesting adventure sooner than later. Let's break it down. Well, sadly, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was probably James Gunn's last Marvel movie. He's moved on to DC Studios, but he did lay the groundwork for some potential follow-ups and spin-offs from his very successful franchise. Now, one of the post-credit scenes introduced a new incarnation of the team, led by Rocket Raccoon, but the other one followed Star-Lord as he returned to Earth and reconnected with his grandfather. Now, the film closes out with the simple message, the legendary Star-Lord will return. And it sounds like there are actual plans in place for a spin-off focusing on Peter Quill adapting to life back on Earth. In the commentary for Volume 3, James Gunn had a really interesting quote. He said, "Oh, but not quite over. We always want to give somebody a little something special, and Chris and I forever have talked about how great it would be to do a legendary Star-Lord movie, a story with Star-Lord on Earth trying to adapt to the environment of Earth in the same way that somebody else might try to adapt to an alien environment of outer space. He is a fish out of water in just kind of regular water, so I can't wait to see it." Now, I have to say, I love that James Gunn does this for his friends and the people that he works with. They clearly laid some pretty big groundwork for Peter Quill to move on. I also don't think that Kevin Feige would have allowed this to happen if they don't have some sort of intention on following through. This was a huge seed sowed for Star-Lord's future, and I totally would be down to see Star-Lord making some kind of journey through our MCU, rediscovering some of his Earthbound friends, and adapting to his new life. It does beg a lot of questions about the character's future, whether he could reunite with his Guardian friends, specifically Rocket Raccoon, and where the next steps for Chris Pratt inside the MCU really are. I think my main concern with the whole story is where they go with it. You can't let it be too over the top. Star-Lord is a normal guy with no powers, at least anymore. And although he's probably brought some tech home from nowhere, I would much rather see a very grounded tale for the character, maybe even centered in his own town. I could totally see a story very similar to the classic Walking Tall, where he has to stand up for the little guy in his hometown. You could tie this to the Quill family and his early childhood, maybe even bringing back childhood friends, and expanding the MCU in a rather small-town way that completely worked with Westview when they did it for Wanda. Now, when this ultimately happens, who knows? Marvel's been stretching out their schedule a lot, so honestly, the idea of getting a Star-Lord project front and center to me seems like it could be pretty far off. Additionally, I don't think this needs to be a movie, and Marvel Studios taking on this type of story for Star-Lord that's very grounded would actually make a better special presentation or maybe even a series. Obviously, it would need to have a couple cameos from some Guardians to add a little pizzazz to it, but I do think the future of Star-Lord in the MCU is pretty assured, and we're going to see him again, probably sooner than later. I'm thinking Kang Dynasty, but we're going to have to wait and see.